Hello. Now we'll talk about how to create a Python dictionary. So in Python, there are the different way to create a dictionary. One way is we can use literals to create a dictionary. Like we can use the symbols. Here we are using this curly brackets, right? Now in the dictionary, we already know that we have this key and the value pair. So this K1 and K2 are the Qs and the values are associated as a 100 and 200 value here. So let's create a dictionary, right? Again, now the another things to note here is that dictionary key must be the hash-able object, right? And the associated value like this 100 and the 200, right? It can be any data type, but again, for keys as well as if these keys are hashable, then it will work, otherwise it will not. So here we have this. So the tuple of hashable objects are themselves hashables, right? And if you have the tuple and the value inside that tuple is not hashable, so the entire tuple will not consider as a hashable. Again, to get the hash value, we can use the hash function. Here we can use this hash of tuple 1 2 3 4, right? When we do this, we'll get the hash object, this hash number. So that means that these tuples are hashable. Now we have this list. Now this list is not hashable. When we do this, we'll get error. Again, if we have the list of tuples, sorry, if we have the tuple of list, right? So inside value is not hashable when we try it, even though this tuple is hashable, but inside object is not hashable. So this will not work. We'll get error over here. Now we can create a dictionary that can be this, like here we have this tuple of hashable object as a key, and this is the value we have. Again, this is the second key. Now again, this dictionary itself becomes a hashable. Here we have this, right? So here as a key we are passing it, but as a value we can pass even a dictionary, another dictionary value. We can even do this, right? Now the function object is also hashable object. That means let's see that here we have this function. Now when we try to get the hash of the my func, we can get the hashable value, which means that now we can use a function as a key in the dictionary. Like over here, we are passing my func as a key and this list as a dictionary as a value. So now we can create a dictionary. Now we can also use this function over here. So here, let's say that we have this multiple function, func add, fn inverse, fn multi. We can pass this all the function as an key in the dictionary, right? And the values are the parameter of this dictionary. We can see that like this 10 and 20 are the parameter of add, 2 is the parameter of func inverse, and 2 and 8 is the parameter of func multi. We can create this way, right? And now if we iterate over this dictionary object, we know that the as an output with the one iteration we'll get the function as a result. Here we can see that here we have all the three functions. It's a different object. So we can call these functions directly with this code. Like so here we can see that we have this f object. Now we are unpacking. Now here we are passing the value of the f. So what we are doing is we are accessing the values for each function, for each key. So this would be first, this would be second, and this would be third, right? Here each f we are passing to the func, we are getting the value, we are extracting it and passing as an argument for the function. Now we are getting the result. Now we can even use dot items method to get the tuple of key and the value. So here when we instead of func, we can directly say func dot item. This will be the pair of tuple. First value will be key and the second value will be values. So here now we are applying this for loop. We are unpacking these two item in the for loop. Now here let's see the output. Here we can see the output. Now we can directly even call these value. We can directly unpack this value to the function, right? So here we can run the same code again and get the result. We can also use the class constructor, that is dict function, in a different way, right, to create a dictionary. Like Here we are using class constructor and pass as a keyword argument. So as a key and the value we are passing as a keyword argument. A is the key and the 100 is the value. Here let's run this. We can see that we have created a dictionary. Now we can also pass the dictionary, or like we can also create a dictionary with this dict constructor, and as an argument we are passing the iterable object, and the value of the iterable object is the pair of two value only. So the first will consider as a key and the second will consider as a value. So we cannot pass the three argument in this, so that will not work. Let's try to run this. Here it is, right? And yeah, that's it. Now, as now we can also pass the dictionary as a value over here. We have already discussed this, right? So here we have created a dictionary, key as an ABC, and the value as 100, 200, and the dictionary of as a value, right? Now let's try to check the ID of this D. Here when we use the ID of this D, this is the ID we look. Now let's create a new dictionary using dict constructor. Here we are passing the same dictionary to the dict constructor. It will create a new dictionary over here. We are storing the result in new dict. We can check that. So this is the same dictionary we have got. But let's check the ID of this new dict. So the ID of this new dict is totally different. We can see that. So when we use the constructor, even though you will pass the dictionary to create the dictionary, it will give you, or it will return you the new ID, right? Again, we can check. Again, we can see that we have the new object, right? Now, what will happen to the nested object? Like here, we are trying to check the ID of this dictionary. Do we get the same ID or a different ID? Here we can see that we are getting the same ID for the nested dictionary, right? So when we use a dict constructor, it uses a shallow copy, right, to create a dictionary. Now let's use the dict comprehension. We have already discussed how this comprehension work, right? We can also create a dictionary using dictionary comprehension. This is very much similar to the list comprehension or the generator expression. Now suppose we have this key and the value as an iterable object, right? We can now first, this technique is like creating a dictionary as a non-Pythonic way, right? Where we have initialized the empty dictionary, we have taken the loop. First we have zipped this value, key and the value pair, and then we have taken the loop, and now we're creating the dictionary one by one. This is the non-Pythonic way, but the much simpler way is we can unpack the same thing and write and execute the same process in the curly bracket as well. So this is very much similar to the list comprehension. We are taking the loop and now we are assigning key and the value in this dictionary, right? Now it also support, like you can also do the nested looping. You can also use if statement and everything. Like over here, this is the example of the same code, but instead of that, here we are using the if statement just for the demonstration purpose. We can see that if statement work over here. Now here we are using an example. Consider that we have this 2D coordinate pair, right? And now we want to calculate their distance from the origin. So what we can do is, so here let's run this. Now here what we'll do is we'll create a list comprehension to create a all possible pair from these coordinates. So again here we can check that first we are taking the loop of the x coordinate, and now and then inside that we are taking the loop of the y coordinate. So the possible combination will be much more, right? And here when we run the grid, we can see that all the possible combinations we are seeing over here, right? To create a, now what we want is, now we want to create a distance, or now we want to calculate the distance from the origins. Now to calculate the distance from the origin, from the math module we can use hypot functions, right, to do these calculations, right? Here is how to use this. We can simply call math.hypot. We are passing x1 and 1. Basically this will give you the distance from the origin, right? So the distance from the origin is 1.41. right? So we can use the list comprehension to calculate the distance. So here we are using it. So we are taking the grid value, these value, we are taking these value into a loop, x and the y. And now here we are storing key x and the y and also the calculation of the distance into a tuple in the list comprehension. So this now now we have the three element in each tuple. So x-axis, y-axis and their distance, right? Now if you want, we can easily create these two value. We can easily create these two x and y coordinate as a key and the distance value as a value. Here we can use this dictionary. We can see that we have this x, we are taking this loop, and now the key is x and the y as a tuple and the value is the distance calculated. So this we can do, right? We can see that now we have this. Now we have this. This is our key and this is our value, right? Now using from key. So you can also create a dictionary with the help of from key method, right? But again, this class method used to create dictionary from the iterable containing keys and the single value. We like as a value, we can pass a single value for each key, for every key, right? So here we can see that like we are using dict dot from keys. Now we are passing this list and then we are passing 0. So 0 is the value for all the key. This is how we work, right? So here we can see that we have this A0, B0 and C0. Even though if you do not specify the single value, like over here we are not specifying the single value, but again we have this three element A, B, C we are passing. So it will create a three because it takes the iterable argument and string is the iterable, right? So when we run this, the A will be assigned to none, B will be assigned to none, and C will be assigned to none, right? So by default, it uses the none keyword, right? Now again, here we have this. Now we are passing Python. Again, we are not giving any value, so by default it will be none. You can see that, and yeah, this is how you can create a dictionary in a multiple way, right? This is it. Thank you very much.